Greetings, folks. IolairGhorm here, bringing you a World of Warships replay that Jimijaz, Lynn Wilkie, and I had in a Tier 10 match a few days ago. Our results in this match are quite strong, and we'd like to share them with you. Let's take a look at the roster. Each team brings 3 Tier 10 battleships, 2 Tier 9 battleships, 2 Tier 10 cruisers, 1 Tier 9 cruiser, 1 Tier 10 destroyer, 1 Tier 9 destroyer, and 2 Tier 8 destroyers. And when we look at lineups, it's particularly important to understand what are the key threats to your destroyers, since keeping your destroyers alive is often crucial in winning a match. So on the opposing team, we see at least one radar source, which is the Moskva, and the Neptune may also carry radar. Lastly, we have a Z-23 which carries hydro, which can make it a very strong cap contester as well. As we start the battle and set out for our initial positions, let's take a look at each ship, ship upgrades, and commander skills. Lynn Wilkie is in the mighty Yamato. His ship upgrades are Main Armaments Modification 1, Damage Control Systems Modification 1, Aiming Systems Modification 1, Steering Gears Modification 2, Concealment Systems Modification 1, and AA Guns Modification 3. His commander skills are Preventative Maintenance, Expert Marksman, Adrenaline Rush, Superintendent, Basic Firing Training, Fire Resistance, and Advanced Firing Training. I'm sailing in the Hindenburg. My ship upgrades are Main Armaments Modification 1, Hydroacoustic Search Modification 1, AA Guns Modification 2, Steering Gears Modification 2, Concealment Systems Modification 1, Main Battery Modification 3. My commander skills are Priority Target, Expert Loader, Direction Center, Adrenaline Rush, Superintendent, Basic Firing Training, Concealment Expert, and Advanced Firing Training. Then we have Jimijaz in the Grozovoi. His ship upgrades are Main Armaments Modification 1, Propulsion Systems Modification 1, AA Guns Modification 2, Propulsion Systems Modification 2, Concealment Systems Modification 1, and Torpedo Tubes Modification 3. His commander skills are Priority Target, Last Stand, Survivability Expert, Concealment Expert, and Advanced Firing Training. Since we spawned on the west side of the map, we move towards Alpha to take the cap, where Jimijaz enters the cap, is immediately detected and engaged by the Z-23 on the opposing team. Now, both teams have brought strong support to this cap, but Jimijaz is the focus point for the opposing team, and he takes substantial damage and is forced to go into a smoke screen and retreat to minimize more damage and get into concealment. He had already used his damage con, but then is set ablaze again, and so he's burning and taking more damage. He tries to keep the smoke between himself and the opposing team to stay in concealment, but the Z-23 has sent torpedoes, and this forces Jimijaz to accelerate, and since his gun bloom has not gone down, he becomes detected again and takes a couple more salvos before finally falling back into concealment. Unfortunately, he's left with only about 5,300 hit points to work with for the rest of the match, so he will need to reposition and re-engage on terms that are more favorable to him. We now transition to Lynn Wilkie in the Yamato. Now, Lynn is involved in some long-range gunnery with the 2 opposing battleships on this flank, the Republik and the Musashi. Lynn is aided by a Alsace, which is on his port side, and the 2 of them will endeavor to keep the 2 battleships on the opposing side at bay. Now, the 2 battleships on the opposing side will actually play a critical role here in the next few minutes, which we'll get to. But for now, our battleships will attempt to keep these 2 battleships at distance and try to keep them from engaging and supporting the cap, or prevent them from trying to take the cap. Now we transition to my perspective in the Hindenburg. I am moving into a position where there's this open slot on the northeast side of Alpha. This provides some good cover for me and allows me to fire into most of the cap, as well as to provide fire on those ships on the western flank. I fire on the Fletcher, but now all the destroyers on the west side are in concealment. The opposing Moskva becomes visible, and I will call target on him. Now, fortunately, the Moskva here is being quite cooperative for me, and he is in a flat broadside position, so I'm able to put some strong AP salvos into his side as he advances towards the cap. Now, the Moskva, as obviously people know, has very good radar, extends out to almost 12 kilometers, and so he can be a very significant threat to our allied destroyers that are attempting to hold or take the Alpha capture point. I had been targeted, and I thought it might have been one of the battleships on the west, but it wasn't. Now I'm going to transition to a perspective with two scenes, one from myself and one from Jimijaz, because something happens that's quite unique here. Now, while I am putting broadside shots into the Moskva, Jimijaz has sent torpedoes in the direction of the Moskva, but also into a smoke cloud set by one of the opposing destroyers. Now, as I fire here and get my shots in, and Jimijaz's torpedoes close in, Jimijaz's torpedoes are going to find their mark on the opposing Fletcher, and my latest salvo will hit the Moskva, and we get simultaneous first blood. Something that's probably quite rare. I think I've only seen once before, and probably even rare when it's within the same division. Now we transition back to Lynn Wilkie, because we're going to enter a phase which tactically will be very crucial to not only the west flank, but the outcome of this match. Now, Lynn has had to rotate himself to make sure that he keeps his bow on the two opposing battleships, the Republik and Musashi, that are moving up the one line. Now, normally most teams think, or most players believe, that having battleships that are in such a position on the one line is usually not a good thing, but in this case, they're actually becoming a fairly serious threat to our west flank. So Lynn is having to try to engage them, but keep his bow on them, because the Alsace, which is to his port side, has already taken some significant damage and will be going down here shortly. And as a result, that will leave Lynn as the only battleship for our team on the west flank. So Lynn has to protect himself against the two opposing battleships. There you can see the Alsace on the left-hand side of the screen has almost no hit points left, and he is about to go down shortly. So while Lynn takes a quick break, moves his guns toward the Neptune, which is now threatening the cap, and Lynn takes a salvo, or puts a salvo on the Neptune, and gets his first kill. But now he has to turn his attention back to the battleships that are pushing on the flank here. Now, Lynn is very concerned that he could end up being in a crossfire between the Musashi and the Republik. So at this point, he is calling to Jimijaz and myself in voice comms, which you obviously cannot hear on the audio here, to come and help defend him, because again, he's afraid that he's about to be placed into a crossfire. And if Lynn is taken out here, again, this will leave no battleship on the west flank, and that would likely put us at serious risk of losing the battle overall. So keeping Lynn alive and keeping his guns in the game is really critical for us. Now, you'll see Jimijaz in the Grozovoi will be moving up in front of Lynn here shortly, and he will send a couple of torpedo salvos in the direction of the Musashi. Now, the torpedoes that you see that have been sent, I believe, were sent by the Fletcher and not by Jimijaz. And then you'll also notice the Republik on the left-hand side has positioned himself so there's an island between himself and Lynn. And we believe, after reviewing the replay, that this may be among the most critical tactical errors that the opposing team makes in this battle, because it denies the opposing team the opportunity to put Lynn in a crossfire and take Lynn out of the battle. So Jimijaz has sent 2 torpedo salvos in the direction of the Musashi, Lin has kept his bow on him. The Musashi takes one torpedo, and Lin starts to move forward so that he can try to ensure to keep the island between himself and the Republic, and he can keep his bow on the Musashi. The Musashi will take another torpedo here, and the high explosive shells that you see coming in over on the left-hand side of the screens onto the Musashi are from myself in the Hindenburg firing on him. Lin is down to a little less than half of his health, but he's got the health advantage, and again, the Republic is unable to put any fire on Lin. So Lin should be in the advantage here, and in this next salvo, Lin is able to overmatch the bow of his opponent and take the Musashi out of the battle. Now Lin rotates to put his bow on the Republic. Now, Lin, again, has less than half his health at this point, and the Republic has the majority of his health. So again, I transition my fire onto the Republic, and Jimijaz moves in a position to retake Alpha. Now, our Fletcher had been taken out earlier, and the opposing Z-23 had taken the Alpha capture point. So Jimijaz is moving back towards Alpha to retake the cap. Jimijaz, I think, is also probably holding his fire against the Republic because he doesn't want to be an easy target to be taken out, and it's important that Jimijaz stay alive so that we can take points and keep spotting. Now, Lin is now continuing to take hits, but he's also getting a lot of good damage on the Republic at the same time. And so hopefully between my firepower and Lin's, we're able to wear down this Republic as quickly as we can. And Lin makes a rotation here, but he takes a pretty good salvo, and he's down to about a quarter of his health. He fires all guns on the Republic and is able to take out the other battleship that was on the west flank. Now Lin is quite damaged, but he takes a well-deserved respite to put the fire out, go help capture the Alpha point, and do some healing. We'll now transition to my perspective in the Hindenburg. I will rotate and move towards Bravo. Jimijaz and Lin will do the same. Now we have a lead, but we only had one capture point. In fact, we had actually been behind at one point, but now we got the lead again. And now that the opposing team has Charlie, and they're about to move into Bravo. And we see a nearly full health Conqueror on the opposing team moving into Bravo. Our allied Harakaze takes a very bold move and goes in for point-blank shot with torpedoes on the Conqueror. The Z-23 becomes visible. I take a quick snapshot on him, and I'm able to take out the opposing Z-23 just as the Conqueror goes down. However, our Harakaze is very wounded, and we transition to Jimijaz's perspective, and we see that there is a full health opposing Zhao, which is able to take out the Harakaze, and so we lose that ship as well. We have retained the lead. We have regained the Alpha point, but we are now facing a quite healthy Zhao and a quite healthy Shimikaze, whereas our two destroyers are quite wounded. Now, if they are detected, they would actually be fairly easy to be taken out of the game. We also have a Montana, although I think at this point we're not sure how healthy he is. Jimijaz sets up to send torpedoes to do some area denial and to try to delay the Zhao's advance into the cap. We transition back to Lin Wilkie and the Yamato, and I'm going to be on Lin's port side here, and we're going to be putting fire on the Zhao. We don't know where the Shimikaze is, so Lin and I will move into sort of along the edges of the islands here to provide as best protection as we can against the impending torpedoes that will be coming from the Shimikaze. There's the Montana, and he's quite wounded, but he's still a significant threat. So Lin and I can continue to put fire on the Zhao. And the Shimikaze was briefly spotted in the Bravo cap. And there he is again. So I changed my focus to the Shimikaze because he was briefly detected. And I do have my hydro up at this point, so we should be able to detect the torpedoes fairly early. But also I want to try to get close enough to detect the destroyer itself. Lin takes another salvo on, or puts another salvo on the Zhao, and is able to take the Zhao out of the match. Now we switch to my perspective. I get close enough that my hydro lights up the Shimikaze, and I take the Shimikaze out of the match, and that leaves just the Montana to deal with. I have a little bit of a scare here because the Shimikaze sent his last rack of torpedoes towards me, but I'm able to thread them, and one torpedo cast scrapes the right side of my ship. Now we transition back to Jimijaz's perspective in the Grozovoi. Jimijaz is moving up the west side of this island to keep eyes on the Montana and to also be able to send torpedoes. The Montana knows he is coming because he was detected by the Montana's airplane, and Jimijaz shot down the airplane using his defensive fire. Jimijaz is trying to get enough distance that he's able to stay in concealment and send these torpedoes from concealment. At the same time, Lin Wilkie will also move up the west side of this island, and I will move up the east side of the island in an attempt to pincer the Montana and keep him from escaping and ensuring that we can put some effective fire on him. So Jimijaz sends his torpedoes on the Montana, although it's not a very optimal angle. Ideally, you want to try to send with more of a broadside so it's more likely to hit torpedoes. And Jimijaz just keeps his eyes on the Montana, doesn't want to engage him, obviously, because he would be an easy target to eliminate from the game. And as his torpedoes close in, we will see that the Montana is going to take 2 torpedoes, but it's not enough to sink him. 1, 2. And then I have a broadside shot on the Montana, which I take, and I destroy the battleship, ending the match. So very exciting battle for the 3 of us. We feel that we did very well. We came in top for our team. Each of us earned more than 2,000 base experience points. And as a reward for doing so well, we were all reported in the match. We don't know whether by somebody on our own team or on the opposing team. We're not sure which. But no good deed goes unpunished. I hope you enjoyed this battle. I'll share the rest of the screens here with the results from each of the ships. Please add your commentary to the comments below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the battle. Happy sailing, and we'll see you out there.